All right, so welcome to our deep dive, I guess you could say, into the year 2025, but through the lens of astrology and cosmic influences. I'm Elliot,
And I'm Celeste.
and today we're going to be kind of exploring the powerful energy of Mars. And we've got some fascinating research and predictions here that suggest that 2025 could be a year of, I don't know, intense change and awakening.
Especially for certain zodiac signs, it seems like.
Oh, really? Yeah, interesting, interesting.
What's what I think is really interesting is this kind of contrast we see where some are predicting a year of positive transformation and empowerment, but others are warning of potential chaos and conflict. Almost like this kind of cosmic push and pull between growth and disruption, you
Yeah,
know?
so quite a contrast. So, should we be bracing for impact or are we getting ready to level up? Maybe a little of both.
To really understand this dynamic, I think we need to look at the astrological significance of Mars. It's known as the planet of action, drive, courage, and ambition. So when Mars has a strong presence in a particular year, like it seems to in 2025, it can really bring this surge of energy, this this desire to break free from limitations, and this willingness to take bold steps.
Okay? I'm already feeling energized just thinking about it, but how does this Martian energy translate into tangible experiences for us down here on Earth? What might we see happening in our own lives or even on a global scale?
So imagine a year where you're suddenly more aware of your own potential, your values, your purpose. It's like Mars is shining the spotlight on those areas of your life that need attention, urging you to step into your authentic self.
So, it's not just about external achievements, it's about inner transformation as well?
Exactly. It's about aligning your actions with your true desires. This might mean finally pursuing a passion you've been putting off, leaving a job that no longer fulfills you, or speaking up for what you believe in, even if it feels risky.
Yeah, I can see how that could feel both liberating and unsettling. Yeah, almost like a forced awakening. And you mentioned a potential for societal shifts as well. What might that look like?
So some suggest that this Martian energy could also trigger changes in outdated systems and structures. Think about areas where there's been stagnation or a need for reform. This could manifest as anything from political movements to cultural shifts to advancements in technology or science.
Wow, so 2025 could be a year of significant upheaval, personally and collectively, but how do we navigate all this potential chaos and change without getting swept away? Is there any way to prepare for what's coming?
Well, that's where understanding the astrological nuances can be incredibly helpful. While everyone will feel this Martian energy to some degree, certain zodiac signs are predicted to be particularly impacted.
Okay, this is where I get really interested. Let's talk zodiac signs. Which signs are going to be feeling the heat the most?
So, Aries, being ruled by Mars, is naturally at the top of the list. It's their time to shine, right? They could see significant career advancements as they'll be bolder in their decision making and more assertive in pursuing their
So if you're
goals.
an Aries, get ready to take charge. Who else is in for a wild ride?
Scorpios are also going to feel this Martian energy intensely. They're known for their transformative nature, and 2025 could bring major shifts in their lives, whether it's a career change, a relocation, or a deep dive into their own psyche.
Ooh, sounds intense, but ultimately empowering. Any other signs we should be watching?
Some Leos, with their natural charisma and leadership qualities, are likely to experience a boost in their creative endeavors and their ability to inspire others. They may find themselves taking on new roles or stepping into the spotlight in unexpected
Okay,
ways.
starting to see a pattern here. Aries, Scorpio, Leo. All signs known for their boldness and willingness to take risks.
Exactly. And that aligns perfectly with the Martian energy of action and courage. But it's not just about the fire signs. For Sagittarius, this could manifest as a desire to expand their horizons through travel, education, or entrepreneurial pursuits, while Capricorns may find themselves focused on building a solid foundation for the future, taking practical steps towards their long-term goals.
So, whether it's taking on new challenges, breaking free from limitations, or stepping into leadership roles, it seems like 2025 is going to be a year where of significant growth and transformation for a lot of people. But I'm curious, is there a way to personalize this forecast even further? Is there something beyond just your sun sign that can tell you how you might be individually impacted by all this Martian energy?
There is, and it brings us to this fascinating concept called the Mars perfection year. It's an ancient astrological technique that can provide a more individualized look at how specific planetary energies might manifest in your life during a particular year.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for us. What exactly is a Mars perfection year and how does it work?
In essence, a Mars perfection year is like having Mars as your personal cosmic coach for the year. It amplifies all those Martian themes we've been talking about.
Okay, so it's like Mars is putting a magnifying glass on those aspects of our lives, turning up the volume on our inner warrior.
Exactly. Now, to determine if you're in a Mars perfection year, you'd need to delve into the specifics of your birth chart. It involves calculating which house in your chart is activated during a particular year and which planet rules that house. But even without going into those technicalities, we can talk about the potential experiences associated with the Mars perfection year.
Let's do that. What might someone expect to encounter during a year heavily influenced by Mars?
Well, imagine feeling an intense surge of motivation to initiate new projects, pursue your goals with laser focus, and assert yourself more confidently. You might find yourself tackling conflicts head on, feeling more comfortable taking risks, and prioritizing physical activity and health.
Wow, sounds like a year of getting things done, but I can also see how it could be overwhelming if you're not prepared for that level of intensity. What advice would you give to someone navigating a Mars perfection year?
It's all about harnessing that Martian energy constructively, set clear intentions for what you want to achieve, break down your goals into smaller, actionable steps, and most importantly, create a solid structure and routine to channel that energy effectively. Otherwise, it can easily lead to burnout or scattered efforts.
So it's not just about going full steam ahead. It's about having a map and a compass to guide that energy in the right direction.
Exactly. And remember, even if you're not in a Mars perfection year, you'll still be feeling the influence of Mars in 2025.
Right.
It's just that the impact might be more subtle or play out in different areas of your life.
This is all fascinating stuff. But I keep coming back to those predictions about potential chaos and conflict in 2025. How do we reconcile those darker forecasts with all this talk of positive transformation and personal empowerment?
That's a great question. And it's important to acknowledge both sides of the coin. Remember that Mars is also associated with aggression, conflict, and even destruction.
Right, it is the god of war after all. Not exactly known for peaceful diplomacy.
Exactly. So while this Martian energy can be incredibly motivating and empowering, it can also manifest in less harmonious ways. This is where those predictions about potential war and destruction come into play.
Okay, so how do we make sense of those predictions without freaking out?
It's about understanding that sometimes destruction is necessary for creation. Think of a forest fire. It can be incredibly destructive in the short term, but it also clears out dead wood, makes way for new growth, and ultimately allows the forest to regenerate.
So maybe these predictions aren't about literal wars and global catastrophes, but rather about the dismantling of outdated systems, beliefs, or even personal patterns that are no longer serving us.
That's a very insightful interpretation. This Martian energy could be pushing us to confront what's no longer working, both individually and collectively, even if that process is messy and uncomfortable.
It makes me think of that quote, "What is not for you will burn away, and what is for you will illuminate." It's not about fearing the fire, it's about trusting that it's clearing a path for something new and better.
Exactly. And that's where Mars' courage and resilience come in. It's about having the strength to face those challenges, to let go of what's no longer serving us. And interestingly enough, strengthening sibling relationships is also associated with mitigating negative Martian influences.
That's fascinating. Why sibling relationships specifically?
It's a reminder that even in a year that emphasizes personal ambition and drive, nurturing our connections with loved ones is incredibly important. Mars can sometimes make us overly focused on our own goals. So fostering strong relationships with siblings can help us cultivate compassion and balance.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like a reminder that we're not in this alone. We need each other to navigate these intense cosmic energies. I have to ask, with all this talk of transformation and upheaval, is there anything we should be particularly mindful of as we head into this pivotal year? Any potential pitfalls we should be aware of?
I think one thing that really jumps out is this potential for conflict, both internally and externally. Yeah, we've talked about Mars' association with aggression and how this energy could amplify conflicts on a personal and societal level.
Right, and how do we navigate that? How do we harness the assertive energy of Mars without letting it turn into destructive aggression?
That's a good question. I think it's about being mindful of our triggers, our reactions, and where we're directing that energy. If you feel that Martian fire rising, take a deep breath before reacting. Ask yourself, is this action serving a higher purpose? Or is it coming from a place of ego or frustration?
Right. So it's about channeling that energy into constructive action, not impulsive reactions. It's about choosing to be the warrior, not the warmonger.
Exactly. And remember, conflict isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it's necessary to shake things up, to challenge the status quo, to break free from outdated patterns.
So it's about discerning what kind of conflict is necessary for growth and what kind is simply destructive.
Exactly. And that discernment requires self-awareness, a willingness to look inward, and a commitment to personal growth.
It makes me think of another potential pitfall, burnout. We've talked about Mars giving us this surge of energy and drive, but how do we sustain that without burning ourselves out?
Yeah, that's a valid concern. Mars energy can be intense and demanding, and if we're not careful, it can lead to exhaustion and depletion. That's why self-care is absolutely crucial during a time of heightened Martian influence.
So we need to balance that fiery energy with moments of rest and rejuvenation.
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot between action and stillness, between pushing forward and knowing when to pause. It's like tending a fire. You need to add fuel to keep it burning, but you also need to give it space to breathe.
Oh, I love that analogy. So it seems like navigating 2025 successfully requires a delicate dance between embracing Mars's energy and being mindful of its potential downsides.
Well said. It's about harnessing the power of Mars without being consumed by it. It's about using this energy to create positive change in our lives and in the world, while also staying grounded, balanced, and connected to our hearts.
It sounds like 2025 is going to be a year that demands our full presence, awareness, and intention.
I agree. And ultimately, I believe that's a good thing. It's an opportunity to become more conscious creators of our own reality, to step into our power, and to co-create a future that reflects our highest aspirations.
This has been a really insightful deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from the astrological significance of Mars to practical strategies for navigating its influence. But before we wrap up, I'd love to hear your final thoughts. What's the one message you want our listeners to take away from this exploration of 2025?
If I could leave our listeners with one thought, it would be this. Embrace the transformative power of 2025. It's a year to break free from limitations, to step boldly into the unknown, and to become the architects of your own destiny. Remember, you have the courage, the strength, and the wisdom to navigate whatever challenges arise. Trust the process, stay true to yourself, and watch as the fire of Mars illuminates your path.
Beautifully said. And I would add that even though the road ahead might be intense, it's also filled with incredible potential for growth, awakening, and positive change. So let's approach 2025 with a sense of adventure, a willingness to embrace the unknown, and a heart full of hope. Thank you for joining us on this cosmic journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep evolving,